We're gonna try this one more time. Okay? Stress ball. Welcome to Capsule 3. I've been low-key, man. So look, I'm gonna tell you my problem that I'm running into with YouTube creation far as like expressing myself, right? This channel is like a social experiment for me to like bring my inside world out to the outside. No like real reason for like the viewership of it, but it's like a reasoning for me to find like my outside voice. Like I'm very internal, very internally fixed, right? When I like talk to myself, I like to call it like my own personal podcast with God. And you know, through that I like talk to myself. I talk about my observations. I talk about things that I've went through, and I literally self-soothe and I self-regulate through doing these things, right? But now, like, as I like integrate and doing this on YouTube and like sharing myself in these capsules and these time capsules that I'm dropping, right, of my personality and who I am, I'm finding this problem where I need to be more structured, right? Because I can't really do it the way I do it in my mind. In my mind, there's no time adding up. There's no editing that's going on. It's just like me talking to God, me talking to myself, and then me cutting it off whenever. Like, I can go for hours doing this shit and have epiphanies, and I can go for tiny little seconds and then, you know, zap it there. But now I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this and almost show myself on a social platform, I need to find a way where I'm structuring it perfectly. And I think I'm very much so ADHD prone, because like and I feel like everybody is nowadays, how our like life, how the economy has made everyone's life very much so hyper vigilant and very like focused in so many different areas. And our social media influences are very much so creating us into these reactionary beasts, damn near, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's trying to find my structure within that. And when you're like not much so a performer, but this authentic person who's just trying to show an authentic face, it's kind of hard to kind of like turn it into like a business thing. You know what I'm saying? This kind of almost feels like a business thing, and I don't want it to be. But I don't know, when it feels like I have to like sit down and kind of like structure what I'm gonna say and time it, it's like a little hard for me, bro. It's like I like to move freely, you know what I'm saying? But like, I don't know, it's a new learning curve. I'm learning. But anyways, welcome to my channel, man. My name is Ajane. Welcome to my channel, Era, where I drop capsules. And soon I will be dropping, I want to do reactions, bro. I have a bunch of videos I've liked that I'm like, all right, I'm going to react to these and give my opinion. But I don't know. I'm like still figuring out how can I do that on a go sense, because I'm working right now. I'm going to the gym. My time is like really much so structured within like reprogramming myself in this new free nomadic lifestyle that I'm living. And I have all the time to create, but then it's like structuring myself on this platform in a way where I feel comfortable, because I'm a very intimate person, bro. I'm not like super like performative, put on a show, you know, like I don't know how to explain it, but I'm learning, right? In this video, I want to talk about a few things that I gave up to become this free person that I am now, that I'm living in, through like the weird things that I've been through in my life. I talked about it in my first video, in my second video. I kind of want to get into these new videos where I'm not like reiterating the struggles that I went through. I talk about them to literally just stamp what I've been through and kind of like stamp myself as this person who can talk about such things, because I literally lived through it, bro. And I gone through it. And it wasn't because I had a bunch of people around me. It was literally like a 1 versus 20, 1 versus 12 over here. And it's kind of finding my way through, I guess, making content where people, maybe this can reach the right people who've been through the same thing, you know? Like, these first little videos I'm dropping are literally just kind of like me opening myself up, me allowing myself to feel comfortable in front of a camera authentically, and then dropping the content. I haven't even went back and watched the other videos I made, because I don't think that's why I want to do this, right? To like see if I'm doing anything perfect or right. Like, I just want to come on here authentically, especially when I get that urge, and then I want to post. So with that being said, man, let's start this video off. I'm gonna say about 5 or 3 things I gave up to live this kind of free and controlled lifestyle that I have, right? To kind of kill this idea of impulsivity and this reactionary kind of like mindset we can have in this world, because man, our economy calls for it, right? Especially with this consumer machine that we got going on, and everybody kind of wants the next big thing, the next best thing, the next new thing. It's programmed our people to become these fucking reactionary beasts, these performative beasts, and man, I've opted myself out of that fucking rat race. So I guess the first thing I can start off with is social currency, bro. I remember on my Instagram, before I went through what I went through, I had about 900 and something followers, close to 1,000, right? And I don't care what anybody says. You got 1,000 people following you, that's a lot of fucking people. And that's not even like talking about the percentage of people that's probably engaging with your, with the content that you share, right? And I'm a photographer, artist, I would say, rather so, right? I would post like my pictures, and that's only the thing I would post. I would post like pictures that I photographed, and I would share them online, right? And I remember there was a point in my artist career where I was heavily relying on the comments that I would get, the likes that I would get, and it made me a slave to my own passion, you know, that, how can I explain it? Like, it made my passion and my love for photography turn into more of this fixation of getting attention and feeding myself externally through what other people thought of me, right? And I would like hop into that and hop out of that, and I feel like that's why I kind of did good in my own way, that I would get like this authentic love and authentic attention, because it'll more so happen in like my creation process than it would happen in my process of actually uploading the content, the art that I was putting out, because I have a lot of confidence in what I do. Like, the things that I do comes with a lot of passion and a lot of heart, bro. I don't do photography to be like the best photographer, or to be this photographer that gets all the attention, and, you know, I don't know, like, I don't do it in this competitive sense. But far as like when I would post it, when I was in this mindset of like turning my shit into a business, I did heavily rely on, do people like this? Am I going to be that artist where I get a lot of attention and people share my things, and then I meet people who can give me these opportunities and all these things? Like, man, it feels good when you're in it, but then it's like, it does something to you long term, and you kind of forget why you're even doing the things that you're doing, especially when it comes to this artistic expression. And if you go on my Instagram, you'll see that I'm very much so poetic in what I post. It's very much so subliminal, and I love my art being in that area. I feel like with my art being in that area, I feel more, it feels more authentic, right? It feels more like I'm paying attention to the outside things in myself, instead of focusing on what type of external validation I'm getting from it. You know, like, I don't know how to explain that, but when I went through what I went through, right, and I'm gonna like speak about that briefly, I went through a lot of hazing, a lot of spiritual tests from people who aren't really spiritually aligned, because I was coming into a very authentic version of myself, where I was already kind of shedding these things. I remember I cut off my comment section, not because I thought I was better than anybody, but it was like, I'm not doing this so a bunch of people can tell me, oh my God, this looks nice. And I started to realize, like, people were starting to comment on my things, not because they really loved what I did, but it was almost like this barter system. I show love to you, you show love to me. And I knew this was a fact because I would see the people that I would show love authentically to, right? And if these people felt like they weren't getting the attention that they deserve, they would go online and they would be like, all these people on my page I'm following, y'all not liking my content. Oh, y'all just monitoring spirits. And I'll be like, sometimes I'll say to myself, well, like, damn, I really didn't see your shit on my timeline, you know, and I'm not really typing people's name into like I'm clocking in, you know, doing my due diligence so I can get my part back. It was kind of like I was seeing what this shit was turning people into. And it's like, are you really creating because you love this shit? Or are you creating because you're desperately wanting to be seen? And it's almost like you're fighting for this position to be able to do this thing, I guess, to make more money. I don't know. It's like, I didn't like the business side of it, because then it became like performance over passion. And it was like, I seen what it did to people if they felt like they were not getting the attention that they deserved. It turned them into crybabies, bro. And I'm like, I don't want to be that artist. I remember when I was younger, I would feel a certain type of way if I only got a certain amount of likes. And I remember when I was younger in high school, I would get like 30 likes, 40 likes, like max on my pictures. And then I remember, like, as I got older and I like started to tune more into my photography, I would get like 100 likes, 60, 70, 80 likes, and 20 comments, 15 comments. And I remember getting certain people coming to me like, oh, you get love. And I remember I had this friend, right? This dude had his own clothing brand. And I remember he would have people buying his shit. Like, it was small, but it was like supportive. He had a good supportive audience. You know, not everybody. And he would have this problem. Like, he'd be like, bro, people are liking it, but people aren't buying it. Excuse me. And I would understand what he was saying, but then I also understand like this idea of like, bro, you're going into the consumer world, right? Where materialism is at its highest because of trendy things. And, you know, some people, they choose what they want to buy and risk their money for off of, you know, what is going to add to their character. And in this high materialism world, people are not even buying things because of the fact that they truly like them. It's this trendy thing, right? And man, I won't go too deep into it, but like, when you got people having problems, you know, if you got people complaining about spending this much money for this thing, like, there are going to be people who will value your startup business as not that valuable because of the attention it gets, right? Even, like, I don't know how to explain it, bro, but like, maybe I'll leave that out, but like, it was just the social currency of things, bro. I had to change the way I was making social media for myself. And I was making it very much so businessy, and this quid pro pro, whatever you said. And it was also falling into the love I was getting. Okay, you know, I'ma hype you up, hype me up. And man, I was going into it thinking that I could have this authentic hunger, and I would meet other people with this authentic hunger. But I was realizing that, man, it doesn't really fuel that for so long, because then you become this machine, and then you have these expectations, and if the expectations don't come, and fuels this insecurity that gets built within this progress of building this idea of how you should be on social media. Long story short, I gave that shit up. And literally through giving that up, I realized how, and I didn't tell people this, right? I didn't go on, I would try to explain it in some of my content. You know, when I cut off my comments, I remember I would have people hit me up like, I want to show you love. You know, I want to be like, it's almost like they wanted to be seen as this person who would just give out love. And I'm like, I'm not doing my Instagram like that though. Like, I'm not looking for y'all to like hype me up. You know what I'm saying? I'm literally just sharing art with you guys. And you know, I would have certain people question that, like, you need to turn it back on, you know, like, so people can see me show you love. And it's like, just like it. If you really like my art, DM me, you know, show love to me in that way. Post it on your story if you want to. But like, I'm not doing this for the validation. I'm doing it because I truly love art. And there's a little message I kind of want to get off to kind of like curate what type of artist I want to be, right? But all in all, I gave that up. And I remember it also came with me unfollowing a lot of fucking people, because I realized that I curated a bunch of other artists, right, who are around me, but who was almost creating for this sense of gaining this social media personality type, or this social media fame. They wanted to be known as this person, and they were like very much so aesthetic chasing, you know, like, I want to have this aesthetic and I want to be this. Yo, it was like really taking out the heart I had within it, because I was surrounding myself who was chasing this shit like a job. And man, I don't know if I'm like explaining it fully, but it just became very depressing, because then it's like the relationships were superficial. And I realized that when I opted myself out, and I realized everybody around me had this condition in how they created. You know, I would see more people go online and complain, you know, like I explained earlier, like, I'm not getting love. All you people, I'm gonna start unfollowing people who not showing my art love. And I'm like, bro, this algorithm shit is weird though. Not everybody, you know, is going to be into what you post. You know, you gotta post it because you love it. And the reason why you're posting is because you just genuinely want to share it. And you have to be okay with those who show love and who don't. If you base what you create off who interacts with it, who are you creating for? You know what I'm saying? And I did not want to become that person. And I'm like, I'm opt out of that. And it just kind of like really exposed those who are around me who were hungry to get in a different way. And I literally unfollowed a lot of people who were on social media in that way. And I'm like, I even DM'd a few people, like letting them know I'm gonna let this relationship go because I want to do this shit differently. And that was hard to like let people go in the sense of having my own personal reason for the own benefit of me growing peace within this shit, and not over explaining to these people why I was letting them go. And it wasn't a hate thing. And I had to like, it was almost hard not over explaining that. Like, I don't hate you. I don't blame for what you do, but I don't want to live my life in this perspective, right? And being around you and then acting as if you're not doing that. And I'm not here to change the way you do things. It would probably only create more problems because, you know, I'm trying to overstay myself where I don't have to. But I felt obligated to because of this participation I've once participated in and thought I could do it differently. But it's going to force you in the same mindset of others, right? Period, point blank. I went on an unfollowing spree, bro. And I also changed what I was viewing on social media. Like, social media is definitely a self-programming scheme. But you can easily fall victim to, you know, having yourself view things. Like, I had a lot of, like, dark shit on my page, like dark satire jokes that, you know, I was kind of finding myself, forcing myself to be interested in and like, because all my friends thought it was quirky and it was funny to talk about certain things like this. And I was like, I'm gonna unfollow all this. I was unfollowing, you know, women that I follow because I thought they were pretty. Like vanity, I got rid of that. I unfollowed people that I followed in this business mind aspect of, okay, if I get close to you, you know, I can, you know, I know I can be this passionate and authentic person towards you, but I'm really following you because I see that, you know, you have this social position that will put me in a good spot. And I don't want to meet people that way or tell myself I have to follow after people who have this I don't know, like crowd around them so I can be introduced in certain rooms. It's like, why not just walk in those rooms? Some of these rooms you don't even know if you truly want to be in. So it's like I had to unfollow people that I followed in that way, in this business manipulation way. And I get it, right? I've had some people tell me like, well, this is just how you have to play the game. If you want to make it, this is just what you have to do. And I realized you only play that game if you want to be in a gatekeeping position. And that's as far as I'm gonna go on that, right? So I let that go. And that led me to having like 500 followers. And I remember I felt some type of way about that, where I'm like, well, damn, like, well, look at my page now. And then, bro, I was able to check that, like, so what does that mean, motherfucker? It's 500 people that you're following, 500 people that follow you. What does this have to do with who you are and what you produce? You still have wonderful work. You still have a hell of a skill set to go out here and do art for how you want to do it now. And now you've erased this want to do things because you feel like you have to do it to make it in this world and be seen in this world, when people already see you for how you present yourself, right? It's just, what crowd are you going to throw yourself in? The crowd where everybody is hungry and everybody's fighting to get to a certain position and be able to have this bragging, right? That's false. Or are you going to do it in a way where it's not even you demanding attention? Now it's you naturally getting the attention because of the way you are operating in this passion of heart frequency, and it's real. It's like, that's going to put the people around you that you actually want around you. Not these motherfuckers who have taught themselves to be wolves and then throw on a sheep costume and then play tea party with each other like they're not this type of person. And man, I've gotten so much peace within that. That is one of the things I gave up. That was a long ass explanation. I might just keep it to 3, right? A second thing that I gave up to find like personal peace within my life is lust. I remember I was living in lust as if it was this normal thing to live in. I told myself I needed to have a healthy sexual life. And you would not believe, I told myself a healthy sexual life was me being with another person. We can have sexual relations, but long as we're honest with each other. Let me tell you something, it does not work like that. Okay? Because if you want to keep an illusion up, you have to lie. And you have to lie to yourself, and also within lying to yourself, you're lying to that other person. I remember when I was getting into my situationships, the deep version of myself, the inside version of myself that I was hiding, that I now am, right? I wanted love. I wanted connection. I was going through a lot living with my mom, and I wanted somebody to come into my world and make me feel different from what I felt like when I was with my mom, and that feeling of being stuck, right? And every girl I met in my young 20s, because year 23 was the last time I had sex, and it was my first time having a one-night stand. And I remember even after that, even though me and this girl was on the same frequency, deep down inside I knew she wanted something deep, and she was telling herself she had to be a certain way to get what she wanted and feel closeness. And I was doing the same thing. And I remember even after that how it became this process of whoever can do it the most strongest is the person who's the most manipulative. And in that situation, I was the most manipulative because I was able to make her conform. Although she knew what we were going to do that night, she was kind of breaking because she was kind of feeling like this closeness. And I knew a part of her was doing what I used to do in my younger 20s, really, when I was getting in situationships, telling girls that I was just as promiscuous as them, and I was lying. I was at home working or being to myself, bro. So when I would like get into these situationships, and they were only with girls who were telling me they wanted to talk to me or wanted to take it there with me as far as go on dates and be around me, you know, I was lying to them. And I was like telling myself, oh, I'm doing what you doing. Half the time these girls was out here having 1 or 2 people they were talking to. I was only talking to them. But I was telling them like, yeah, I got some other people I'm talking to. So they didn't feel like bad for putting me in a situation where they knew I was kind of expecting something. I had to pretend like I wasn't expecting nothing to come out of us talking to God. I would always have this feeling like maybe you like me deep enough, or you'll like me so much to where you'll choose me in the end. And it never ended that way because that person knew what they were coming into, and I realized they were always the stronger one when it came to leaving because they weren't lying. They were kind of honest with themselves and what they were in it for, and they were only playing the game to make it more comfortable and like what we were doing, right? It's like playing house in a sense. And I always felt, and I always was the one heartbroken in the end, crying in the end, I'll be honest, and also like losing my mind on them, like, oh, I don't like we need to work this out. And it's like, no, motherfucker, this shit been had expiration date on it. Now you can't start this shit off tough and, oh, I'm not looking for this, and then now when this person is willing to leave and ready to leave, you're fighting to keep this person around now because you've lied to yourself. And then you've lied harder to yourself than this person did. And it's like you brought it into this fake ass contract that, it wouldn't be nothing too serious. And then it always ends into a messy situation because one person is going to get more comfortable than the next. And in my last interaction, like with having sex, I remember because I got so used to going through that process, it was easier for me to now be in this process of like, well, you know why we here. You know why we doing this. And I remember we had sex, and I remember I left at like 7 a.m. I was driving home, and I remember I only did this with this chick. I wasn't even like all the way attracted to her to where it's like, this is somebody I could fantasize being with. This was like, oh yeah, you cute enough to like, mess with and shit like that. And I only did this situation because my mom pissed me off. And I remember this chick already told me, like, confessed to me she would want to do something like this with me. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'll keep you in my back pocket. And it came down to the moment where I could finally use this, I could finally use this, I don't know, like this experience now, because me and my mom got into it. And like I said before, I was already in this home where I wanted to escape, but I didn't know how to. And me and my mom got into it, and I'm like, I just remembered that, oh, it's this chick who don't mind if I come over her crib and I chill with her for a second, woo woo. And I remember this was my first time, but after me and my mom got into it, and I was just impulsive, I'm like, I just want to feel something else. And I like really talked to this guy. I'm like, hey, can I come over? She's like, yeah, I ended up coming over late at night, brought me a bottle to help me get through this moment and make me feel more confident in it. Like I was drinking and shit. And it's like the next morning I'm leaving and shit, right? And I remember the experience was nice. Like I got what I wanted out of it. And I remember while having sex with this girl, right? I remember saying to her in the middle of the shit, TMI, like, thank you for giving me your body. I remember saying that shit to her, like, while being in the, like, thing with her. And, bro, if you're a spiritual person, then you understand. I'm not going to go too deep into that. Maybe I'll talk about that in a different video. But I kind of felt bad in the middle of it because I realized, like, I'm not going to want to, like, see you again. I kind of just wanted to do this for my own self-benefit. And I remember even going 2 rounds with this girl because I was telling myself, well, that was enough for me to hold myself off in the sexual way of me wanting something for a month or 2. And then I'll probably just do it again with another person. It's like I was getting myself ready to participate in this nature of just having frivolous sex, right? And having sex, getting it in a way that I felt like, was easiest to get it to feel close to somebody. And I remember just driving from her crib. It was weird even like saying bye to her, like, all right, bye. It was like fake, because I kind of knew like I'm probably not gonna hit you up as much as I want to unless probably I want something really bad and I'm desperate. And I remember even like when I did this shit, I was already going through the phase of letting sex go, but I was deeply contemplative with it because like I was still feeling like I needed it in my life to feel like a normal adult human being. If I wasn't participating, then could I really say I was living this life of it was weird, bro, but it was something I've made myself to believe out of all the outer influences, I was around and what I was making myself believe that was normal. And man, deprogramming like that I'm seeing on television, I'm seeing, celebrities live and them making it normal. They can do it, I guess I can do it. It's weird, right? And it was just the quietest ride home. And I remember I would like text her to like try to like, I don't know, make myself feel better in the manipulative action that I participated in, knowing that I kind of used her for her body. And I remember one day she was like, you don't have to feel like you have to hit me up, something like that. And I remember that it triggered me. It was like, what do you mean? And I remember it made me feel like, and I think a week passed at this point, and I'm like, oh, she's saying that because she on some weird shit, whoop, whoop. And it's like, I reacted to it weirdly. And I remember from there, I lost my fucking mind. I remember I got tested at a doctor, and then I went to urgent care because then I thought, what if she gave me something? And I had to really sit down with myself after like my test came back clear. And I'm like, do you want to keep doing this? Like, do you want to put yourself through this fucking mental, this mental exhaustion, right? Because you're lying to yourself, telling yourself, this is how I feel alive, this is how I feel like myself, this is how I feel like I'm in a loop, and this is how I feel connection. Or do you just want to tighten the fuck up and wait till you meet somebody who's actually worked on himself as you need to and actually have this trusted relationship where you can now do this sacred dance with somebody in a very protective, safe way, right? Where you don't feel like this person doesn't really owe me anything because I'm playing the same game that they're playing, right? And then you go through this fucking mental process of being exhausted and now going through the scare phase of this person could have gave me something. This person could be doing this and this with this and that person. I can't really be mad about it. And it's a lot. And I remember I had to really sit down with myself and I'm like, you have to stop or you're going to catch something trying to play this fake ass game and then doing this little fake trust thing with somebody that you feel like you could trust because y'all both hyping each other up externally. And it's like, it's baseless. It has no foundation to it. And it's all a lot of lies and it's vanity, right? And I've seen so many people get caught up in this shit, get diseases and then say it's normal. As long as I can get a shot and I can take a pill, it ain't really nothing to it. And it's like, what? That's when I told myself, we're done. We're done. And it wasn't that hard, but it did come with a lot of, reconciliation that I had to do within myself because of what I made myself believe. through having sex, that what it gave me externally. And it was all false, bro. It was all false. And it literally brought me back to myself. And it also helped me realize how many other people was living through this lens and how they were paying for it and how they were lying to themselves. So I'm trying to make sure. And how they were lying to themselves that it was actually benefiting them in some way. So, man, 3 years already in the abstinency, bro. And I'm telling you, bro, it has literally helped me with my self-confidence, how I interact with people, how I interact with those I'm attracted to. It's made me obtain more self-respect for myself and the person outside of me. And I've met so many people who are willing to give me themselves off of this fast contract. And every time I've had this self-control, I realize how it made more people look at me like, ugh, you're making me look at myself a certain way. And I got treated a certain way because I wasn't so fast to act in a sexual way with these people. And I realized, like, damn, a lot of these people are connecting on false pretenses. Like, nobody's really connecting on a very spiritual level no more. And I'm not saying everybody. There are people out there who are doing the same thing that I'm doing, that's not having a bunch of sex. But man, it's more like people performing in this energy, and more people persuading other people to perform in this energy. Just like I was with the girl who I felt crack a bit and was like, kind of like giving me this idea that she would want some more. But then I'm like, what we here for? And I'm like, can you imagine how many people are doing that to other people who are really willing to change within themselves? But then it's like, because maybe one person has performed in this enough and they can tell this other person is into it, but they just need a little bit more, like, they need a little bit more of a push to be in this energy. It's like, it's horrible, bro. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I'd rather be the person to slow a motherfucker down and be like, let's not, because it's easy to be impulsive and then think about it later and then deal with whatever comes with it. But it's harder to actually have a sense of control. And you get way more out of that, bro. So I gave up that. This is going to be a long video. I'll leave it off with this third thing and I'll keep it short, right? I gave up materialism. My love for, like, having certain things. Now I'm more of a quality over quantity person. I remember when I moved out of my mom's house, I had so much clothes. I had so many clothes, bro. And enough shoes where I'm like, why the fuck do I have all this shit? The shoes that I wear mostly now are my Hokas, bro. And I love Hokas because of these shoes have lasted me longer than any other shoe have lasted me, bro. I'm very hard on my heels, and usually my shoes would shave off. And I would always get like these little London designer shoes that I really like that would cost $300 a pop. And I would like always like schedule to get more because it was like, well, at least I can wear with this fit and that fit. Until I moved out my mom's house, and I had to live a certain way, right? Where I had to be more intentional with the things that I buy and what I bring around me and what was too much. And I'm like, I realized how much I had in my storage unit. And I'm like, why do I have all this shit? And I realized how it was just things that I bought to make myself feel like I was in a loop, or to get me external validation, to make me seem like I was in. And I always had this personal style, that was always catered to who I was, but I was still kind of leaning into like this consumerist type of, well, I need this and I want to, have this to feel a certain type of way. And now that I'm into this, now I'm into like a personable fashion, where I still like my things. Like, I wear things of good quality, things that I can actually study and research on a brand. And certain things I will just buy, like t-shirts, bro. I buy cheap ass bulk t-shirts. My jeans, I still have a bunch of G-Star jeans that I just keep, that I wear. And then I'll have like little sweats that I wear, but I no longer, bro. And I have enough clothes to last me for years. I have not bought a single extra pair of clothing. I used to buy shit because, I'm going here, I want to buy something new, I don't want to wear the same thing over. I'm over shit like that. I've given that shit up. Like, you gonna see me wear a motherfucking clothing item more than once, more than 5 times, more than 10 times, long as it look good after I get it out the washer and it actually holds its stitching. I've given that shit up, bro. And nobody actually cares unless you care. So I've given up materialism and my need of having to have products, of the trendy assortion or whatever, to feel like I'm in with the in crowd. I don't give a fuck no more. Like nowadays, all I want to wear is athletic gear and shit that is comfortable and shit that actually benefits my fucking feet and things that makes me feel free roaming. And the tighter things that I do have is like things that are like athletic in a sense, or you know, like I do have like my go out shit, right? Where I do have, you know, a good pair of jeans that I wear if I want to go out with somebody and have drinks or whatever. But like now my fashion is more personable than it is like how can, not exploitative, but like in a sense where I'm like performing and it's like, look at me, you know, like I'd rather let my personality speak for itself and let that shine through the clothing, however that makes sense. But this was a nice little video of me talking about 3 things that I gave up. I was gonna do 5, but I want to keep my videos around like 35 minutes and under, or at least under 40 minutes, bro. And yeah, I love y'all. I'll see y'all in the next capsule. I love you. That's that shit, what you call it. I need to have like a little closing thing. Like, what can I do, man? I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out in the next video, man. We're gonna have our little thing, you know?